between today and sort of that longer term when I may be taking my funds out at age 60. Tell us a little bit more about that, Nancy.
Sure. So I think the best way to do this is to illustrate with an example. So we all have a work option lifestyle number. Remember we talked about that, and that there's always life interruptions that happen and they kind of hit us at the most inopportune times. And so when we're thinking about building towards the future and our future income, we also want to assess risk. And one of the ways that we can do that is through insurance. So let's take, for example, this couple here. We've got Betsy and we've got Tom. So Tom is the type 1 diabetic, and they've just had a little baby, Melissa. So Tom is a carpenter. He's got a job where he's working with a lot of heavy machinery, and he is concerned that he's also the primary breadwinner. So Melissa stays home, Betsy stays home to take care of Melissa. And he wants to make sure that if something should happen to him, if he doesn't make it home at night, one night, that his daughter and his wife are taken care of. So that the mortgage is paid off, that they're able to have food on the table. And I think more importantly, Tom just wants to make sure that if he wasn't around, that they would not have to struggle financially, because it's already going to be an emotional burden to not have one of the spouses there. So one of the things that we would consider is life insurance for that, critical illness. So this is if something should happen to Tom, that there would be money paid, because remember, we said that it usually costs more money when you get sick. So particularly with type 1 diabetics, when there are other conditions that can happen in addition to the type 1, it's important to actually put that into place. And also maybe disability insurance. So especially if you're self-employed, that you don't have a plan with your employer. I think the one thing that's really important too is if any of you decide that you want to travel and you have people with type 1 diabetes in your life, and I think you had an example of this actually just recently too, where you traveled and you had an episode involving the diabetes. Sure, quickly.
So I did look into insurance before we traveled and bought a supplementary benefit on our travel insurance. When we were traveling, my son's pump malfunctioned. We were right in that between Animus's going out of business and our warranty expiring and getting a new pump, and so we did not have a backup pump. And we also, we had the wrong pen for the wrong long-acting insulin to go onto MDI. So it was a bit of a challenge and an opportunity to learn some things. But I was very fortunate in terms of the insurance coverage that we had that supported everything. But I learned through that something about a 7-day, I can't even remember what it's called. Pre-exclusions versus a 30-day exclusions, because of course there's the issues around the stability of the condition 30 days prior to travel, and you can get one where you only have to be stable for 7 days prior, but with diabetes there's not really any stable day necessarily, so it was a bit of an experience to learn about.
So with any kind of insurance, it's really the devil is in the details. So what you want to do is actually make sure that whatever plan you end up purchasing, that it includes no pre-exclusions, meaning that if you have a condition and some of them have 7 days, like meaning if you change your medication or change anything within 7 days, then they don't cover you. So there are plans out there that will cover you without pre-exclusions. So it's really important, I think particularly with something like type 1 diabetes, where you're not really sure what's going to happen within the 7 days prior to traveling.